Welcome back to Digital PR Explained, the podcast that makes digital PR more accessible and breaks down a PR topic in 20 minutes or less, or tries to. I'm your host, Britt Clont, and today I'm joined by Beth Nunnington, Global VP of Digital PR at performance marketing agency Journey Further. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for your time, Beth.
Britt, so lovely to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. Let's jump right in. So your recent LinkedIn post sparked a lot of discussion around the three traditional SEO pillars: technical, content, and links being outdated. Can you walk us through why you think they are no longer relevant?
Of course, yes. My LinkedIn post did get some really nice engagement, which was really interesting to see. So don't get me wrong, I still think that having a really technically sound website and having, very useful, informative, trusted content on site is key. But I think that third pillar, links, is the one that's particularly outdated. And I think instead of links, it should be off-page trust signals. Don't get me wrong, links is still very much part of that and a trust signal. But I think now with Google advancements, OpenAI, LLMs, we need to not be focusing so much on links because Google uses natural language understanding, it uses AI all the time, which means it doesn't have to rely on links as much as it used to in order to make the connection between brands and topics, because it can understand entities. So for example, if a piece of content is talking about Apple, it can easily understand if it's talking about Apple the fruit or an iPhone, Apple, Apple the brand. So it understands different entities, which means it just doesn't have to rely on the links the same way that it used to. And that's the same with LLMs and OpenAI too. And in fact, the Google leak quite a few months ago now also confirmed that Google is looking at broader trust signals. It's not just looking at links, it's looking at brand mentions. We believe it's also looking at things like sentiment, buzz around that brand. So I do think that people who are still very fixated on links are looking at an outdated strategy. And I think as part of that, it's because Google for ages now, I think, has tried to direct us away from links, because I think as an industry, SEOs can try to manipulate the SERPs, right, using links and using black hat tactics like spammy links. And so it's trying to encourage us to actually build a brand the right way.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think many SEOs, especially, maybe more so than PR professionals, still think of backlinks as the holy grail. And my question to you, and maybe we can pivot the discussion here, how do you think SEOs and PRs should shift their mindset to build trust in a more holistic way?
I think they need to just really focus on the end user and their target audience as opposed to just a search engine. But actually, I know you were at Brighton SEO in 2023 and Danny Sullivan was there. I'm not sure if you saw his keynote, but I was there. And one of the things he said was, if you are chasing the algorithm, you're behind. But if you actually are following and focusing on what people like, you're ahead. So I think that's really what people should be thinking about, what is that end user interested in, what is relevant to them, and doing so create content that they're actually going to want to read and engage with.
Yeah, more human focus, human centered. Gosh, you're taking me back. That was quite a presentation. I really liked it. Very energetic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of discussion around AI and LLMs. With AI advancements, we're not just optimizing for search engines, but we're also optimizing for people who rely on social proof. How can brands craft PR strategies that satisfy both of those things?
Great question. I think a buzzword in the marketing industry right now is attention and like grabbing attention, but actually it's important to make sure you're creating content that's attention worthy. So you're not just like putting content out there or earned media content that's, loses attention instantly. And so actually something I talk about a lot is the importance of relevance and putting relevance at the heart of that strategy. I think if you're ensuring that you're creating content that's relevant, that's actually more important than attention. So again, like really thinking about that end user and what is relevant to them. So I have a little bit of a framework that thinks about like 4 key parts of relevance and ensuring that when you're putting your strategy together, if you follow these 4 points, I think you can really help to build a strong strategy. So firstly, like ensuring that the content that you're putting out there is culturally relevant, that it's topical, it's on brand. Also, you might be reaching out to the UK or you might be outreaching in the US. Like culturally, things are very different there. Being on brand. I know that sounds so obvious, but I see a lot of like link building and digital PR content that's not related to the brand at all. So making sure it's relevant to the brand messaging, the brand proposition, and also from like an audience perspective. I think it's really important that we look at audience insight to understand what content are they interested in so that we can like craft stories around that. And then finally, something I think that is becoming more common in the industry, but to really consider keyword relevance. So I think as SEOs, it's really important when putting a digital PR strategy together to do like opportunity analysis and understand what are those keywords that we need to prioritize in terms of like, based on their competitors, but also margin, profitability, etc. And then we can craft content and ideas around that. Because if Google is less focused on links and they're looking at entities and they're understanding content, that's really where we should be. We really should be focusing on. So I think being relevant is what really helps brands to then trust the content and trust that brand, and obviously as well putting forward like spokespeople, authentic thought leadership, especially in the world of AI. People don't want to be reading content that's clearly being written by AI or just like regurgitated. I think the more we can profile experts within businesses and profile brands as experts as well, there'll be a lot more positive trust signals there, which is not only going to meet like what your audience is going to want to read, but also that meets search engines' expectations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, personally, on a personal note, I'm focused, and all of this is reminding me of this actually. I think it was Rand Fishkin who came out with a video actually about how brands and companies need to be focused on how they're positioning themselves and I guess what taglines they're using when pitching content or when pitching their spokespeople. And I love that. I think it's really smart. So personally, I've been working with my clients to get very clear taglines on that describe what their company does, but keeping it short and succinct because it's all about consistency. And the more that is published, the more likely these LLMs or AI search tools might pick up that tagline and further relates what it is that they do to the company. So I guess as a more solid example for Journey Further, perhaps it would be like, Beth Nunnington at Journey Further, a performance marketing agency, commented and said, this isn't a spokesperson article example. And then whatever it is that you said. And the more times that's published, the more likely these LLMs are going to see that and use it and, associate Journey Further and yourself with Journey Further being a performance marketing agency. I'm going sort of in the weeds here.
No, that's very true, and that I fully agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that's just so smart. And it just reminds me of like your trust signals, what other trust signals PR should be focused on. And you know what that also does? It also further cements why coverage is still so valuable, even if there isn't a link. So bringing it back to, I believe you are a huge proponent of this. Links, aren't the end all be all.
I fully agree with that. And I think, especially in the ever evolving search landscape, as you said, with OpenAI, they're not using links, they're pulling in brand mentions. I saw that video from Rand, and also Brittany Muller was saying as well about sentiment and brand mentions and authenticity. I actually spoke to Alison at PR Daily a couple of months ago now, back in August, about the fact that OpenAI is actually going to make earned media even more important than ever, because it's that trusted content from spokespeople, but also the LLMs are going to be pulling in those sources and those citations when they're giving that information back to people. So obviously I am biased, I am a PR, I'm going to say that, and I'm sure you agree with me. But it is great news, I think, for our industry and for our channel, because we can make it work so much harder, and therefore with Google becoming so much more intelligent using natural language understanding, links are becoming less of a focus. They are still valuable. That's what I'm not saying we should forget all about links, but we should really think about the right links and think more about a holistic strategy that's going to help build a brand overall.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about measuring impact. Since traditional SEO metrics are changing, evolving with all of the changes that are happening, how should PR professionals track the success of their efforts? Are there new KPIs that you think we should prioritize?
Definitely. From day one, so I actually founded the digital PR team at Journey Further nearly 7 years ago now, which feels like a very long time.
Wow.
We have tried to move and educate clients away from just focusing on link volume as a success metric, because I think, as we all agree, it's fairly arbitrary. And I really try to encourage people to drive value over vanity. And I think link volume is a vanity metric. And we actually became one of the first, we were the first agency in 2019 to develop a tool that could actually measure content relevance and backlink relevance using the IBM Watson API. And I know now a few other agencies have developed other things similar. So I think measuring like relevance is really key, because we've seen a lot of times where we are building really high quality relevant links and coverage and mentions. There's a strong correlation with rankings, because we're helping Google to understand what our clients' websites are all about. So I think relevance is something we've measured for a while and something we will continue to. But we're actually also in the process of developing part of our technology, which we call Salient, a new measurement framework that's going to look at broader signals. So we're coining it DARE metrics, so it's DARRE, and that stands for demand, authority, reputation, relevance, and engagement. And so, like, authority within that, we will be looking at links and velocity and quality of links, but we'll also be looking at search demand, we'll be looking at sentiment, we'll be looking at the brand's reputation, the buzz online, because ultimately they're all the factors that build a brand and help Google understand like what that brand as an entity is all about.
I love that. I love that. DARE. I love a good acronym.
It's new. We haven't officially launched it yet, so you're one of the first people
Oh,
I've spoken to about it, but it is coming soon. We're running tests in the back. We're doing lots of studies in the backgrounds, but yeah, we're really, really excited about it.
very cool. Oh, cool. I can't wait to shout about that. Well, I think this is a really good moment to discuss a case study, one of my favorite parts. Can you walk us through a case study in which Journey Further, or one of your clients successfully redefined SEO by prioritizing trust and everything we just talked about?
Yeah, definitely. So, one brand that springs to mind is Inspired Taste. They are a recipe blog. If you love cooking, I highly recommend checking them out. And so they came to us, and they were being outranked by competitors, but also so they wanted to drive growth. And so we took a look at all of these different metrics, and we saw, you've got other competitors have more authority, they have other metrics stronger than them. So we were like, right, we need to do a digital PR campaign that's going to really engage their community, because they've got a great community, but we wanted to expand that and to really build that trust as an authority within the space. So we created a dream job campaign. So we offered 3 people the chance to be their dessert taste tester, which is obviously amazing. They
Sign me
basically get
up.
paid. Yeah, they basically get paid to buy the ingredients, cook and taste lots of desserts. It was $2,000 per person. So this got some really great coverage and traction. But because we asked people to record a video, share on TikTok, share on Instagram, there was loads of great video content and engagement too. And it just went, I don't like to use the word viral, but there was so much engagement and content shared on social. And the rankings, just the increase in rankings was really significant. So we had 6,000 people apply for the job, which is, I think, a significant number. Yeah, and shows that people are engaging and clicking on the page, clicking on the content, which is obviously sending trust signals to Google. They had 4,000 new email subscribers, which is really important to them, because they send out a lot of their emails, their recipes via email. And they've had, I'm just looking at my notes because I have to try and remember the stats off the top of my head, but they increased their social following by 40,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
Over
then,
a span of how many months or
what,
weeks?
2 months?
Oh my gosh.
Couple of
Wow.
weeks, really. So from a relevance perspective, we use Salient. They improved the relevance of their backlink profile for their key dessert terms by 79%. And then actually, when it looks at, like, you know, the more macro metrics, they had a net gain of 440 ranking positions across just 22 dessert keywords. And it's won awards, this campaign, unsurprisingly. And I remember this is kind of what prompted as well as to start building out a different framework, because I was like, this success is not down to just the links. This has to be down to all the engagement, all the trust signals. And this is actually what sparked us to start developing this new framework, because the results we were seeing were fantastic. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Kudos to you all.
Thank you.
I love that idea. I mean, it sounds like you measured not only sorry, I'm getting excited. You measured the rankings. So it's all about still focused on search, but also social engagement and the website traffic as well.
Yeah.
Gosh, it just hit so many different metrics, and that's wild. Did it have a landing page?
Yes.
Its own landing page? Okay.
Yes,
now I'm just curious about the fine details. Okay.
Yeah, so we created a landing page for people to apply for the job. So obviously that encouraged journalists to link back and also encouraged people to share it and click through. And we had a video, like we created a video to launch the campaign on social as well. And so it just got some really lovely traction online, and they grew their community. And I think community is also really key for brands in 2025. They're trying to, like, actually grow communities and get revisiting people to the site. Yeah, it's something that we are very, very proud of, and our client is really delighted with as well. So it's definitely a testament to the team's hard work. But I think that's the key thing for me. Like, we're not in digital PR just to go and get coverage and build some links. We're actually in digital PR to drive, like, real performance that's measurable. And so one of my favorite lines at the moment is to say, you know, we are keeping brands top of mind as well as top of Google, because digital PR is so much more than just a link building tool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I 100% agree. Actually, that's a good bit of advice too, to PRs and SEOs, just thinking beyond a link. On that note, we don't have very much time, unfortunately, and I have so many more questions about this campaign, maybe for another time. But I wanted to also just end. I mean, you started a Journey Further, built a digital PR team that you'd started only 7 years ago, and you've had so much success in this industry. I would love to just learn, or for my listeners as well, I'm sure they'd love to know what advice you have for PRs and even SEOs as well.
I think linking back to Danny's advice, like, just stop trying to second guess what Google wants and actually just focus on what your end user wants. And I think if you really focus on that and creating content that's going to really connect with that end user, you can't go wrong, because that's what your end user wants. And actually that's what Google wants too, because they want to remain the best search engine, and they're going to want to compete against, they're competing now against OpenAI, like TikTok, so many things. And so they need to be putting the best content in front of their users. So if you focus on that, you can't go far wrong. And I think as well, like, don't get disheartened if something that you try doesn't work first time. Like, there's always new angles, there's always different ways to potentially like create new hooks and new stories. So I know PR can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but honestly, like, stick with it, and it is very rewarding.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Beth. This has been a great conversation, and I can't wait to get it out there.
You're welcome. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on.